Thanks for tuning into another episode of Brewers, where we tell the stories behind your favorite beer. I'm Matt, and joining me, as always, is Erica.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Just want to let everyone know, Sound Guy Ryan is taking a hiatus.
It is, MIA.
Yeah, he has to finish school.
Whatever.
And part of the finishing school is, I guess,
Not doing Brew Roots.
not doing Brew Roots.
Whatever.
But he'll be back.
Yeah,
We wish him all the best.
definitely. No, it's cool.
And it was
cool.
his birthday the other day, so like...
Yeah. Happy belated birthday.
Happy belated birthday! Also, our listeners, we put a poll out. We asked our listeners, how old do you think Ryan is?
Yep.
And the majority of people thought he was timeless.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
and then the second majority of people thought he was 29.
Weird.
Which I can tell you,
He's not.
if you interact with Ryan,
Nope.
you'll retract that answer. Right, Jazz?
Instantly.
He's get big thumbs up.
Yep.
So filling up for Sound Guy Ryan is our man Jazz.
Yes.
He is the best owner operator at Small Pond
Studios,
the home of Brew Roots, and the home of honestly some of the coolest recordings that we've been hearing lately.
ever.
And he's making beats now. So if you're like an up and coming rapper,
Beats by Jazz.
Beats by Jazz, which sounds like something else.
It's not. We promise.
It's not.
Don't sue
Exactly.
us.
Yeah, but thank you everyone who tuned into the episode with Faces last week.
Yeah, that was a blast.
Wicked
Kind
fun.
of fun. We've been meaning to do that one for a long time now. So.
Yeah, we've been saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, literally.
But fortunately for me, I was able to grab some of their beer.
Yeah.
And I've been drinking them, Prairie, and of course the 100-calorie Topo Chicos.
Topo Chico.
Seltzers, hard seltzers.
So delish.
And if Topo Chico wants to sponsor just me, not the Brewers podcast,
That's cool.
I'm available.
Yeah.
I
Totes
could be the
available.
spokesperson.
Yeah.
I can be the spokesperson. I have like a Seth Rogen-esque body.
Yeah. If you want, and just dark hair.
Terrible personality. He has a great one. But,
Yeah.
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 But yeah, sign me up.
Definitely.
What have you been
Definitely.
drinking?
Me? Well, everything. Along those lines, I did the hard tea, the Tea Party by Night Shift.
Good.
Their mango lemon peel, which is delish.
Delicious.
Yeah.
I love.
And doing some kind of new local stuff. Hypothecary. So their new brewery, not quite open yet. They're in
North
build
Reading.
out in North Reading. Yeah.
Love their theme.
Love their theme.
doctors
It's super
kind of thing.
cool. I think it makes total sense with the whole beer thing.
Yeah.
So I was having their ESB, which is awesome that they're doing an ESB, and
Yeah.
then they did a sour IPA, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Speaking of ESBs, I'm going to make a total parallel to something that's not really the same,
Oh, okay.
but it's New Hampshire Beer Week.
Ah, yes.
And I've been telling our listeners to go up to New Hampshire. They said, Matt, Erica, Sound Guy Ryan,
where
where
to
to go? I've been sending people to the Czar.
Oh yeah,
I'm sending people
the Czar's
to
place.
The Czar's place. Yeah, that's right. I've been sending people Outhouse Ales, which we
Yeah.
did an interview with them a couple years ago. Love
Years
them.
ago. Yeah.
And I've also been sending people Liar's Bench,
Mm-hmm.
so on and so forth. That does not mean that I'm not endorsing other breweries to go to. There are amazing breweries, and some
so
that we
many
haven't
brewers
even
up
talked
there.
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love those small breweries that, like
Are
Liar's
premium.
Bench is more people than two people now, but
Yep.
it started out
Just
two guys.
one- yeah.
And Czar's is one dude.
same
And,
with Czar's. And
Same with
yeah,
Outhouse. So, by this time this episode is released, New Hampshire Beer Week is going to be over.
But it's
Is it
still-
really over?
Yeah. No.
It's forever.
Beer weeks every week. Come
That's
on.
right. You just
Come
can't
on.
get a cool glass commemorating it. We probably can.
Well, there
still.
might be some
Yeah,
around.
There's probably
still.
some still
You can
left.
try.
But
you can try.
yeah, that shirt from Beer Merch was awesome.
Oh, so cool. We hope you got one.
Yeah, we really are affiliated with so many cool people.
The
We're very
coolest
lucky.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of someone who we are affiliated with is Eco-Friendly Beer Drinker.
Yeah. Or Mass Brew.
You
Rob.
might know him as that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we do our yearly episode with him talking about. At this point, it is
He's
going to
been
be
on,
yearly.
yeah, it's basically a yearly episode. He's been on, 3-4 times at this point?
And I'm going to say,
yeah.
last year when we did our sustainability in beer,
Yep.
I was like, shit, Rob knows so much more about sustainability than me.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, he knows even more than last year and still knows even more than us. But
It's true.
it's just kind of cool to show that he was actually really practicing what he was preaching.
Yeah.
And he has just kind of divulged into this.
He's
making
really
a part
trying to
of
make
his-
it a lifestyle for himself,
and,
which is really cool to see. And so you really get that kind of insight from our episode with him this week. And he's very well aware that it's really difficult and it's not perfect. You can't be perfect. You want to be, right? And you want to try and do everything you can, but it's really kind of impossible in the world that we live in. But he gives a lot of great tips.
And a lot of great breweries to go to.
Yeah, and a lot of great breweries to go to that are being more sustainable.
Yeah.
So it's if you just take a small bit of what he talks about and try to insert that into your own drinking life, I think it'd make a difference. So,
and I think it's a great way for us to kick off Earth Week.
Yeah, Earth Week. This whole month is Earth Month, and really Earth Year.
Earth Year.
Come on,
that's right.
Let's do it.
So, we want to get right into the episode because there's a lot of great content in it.
Yeah.
And we have a couple breaks in it, so those breaks break up this episode awesome because there's a lot of information. So make sure that if you listen to it all the way through, that's awesome. Or if you're able to break it up into little smaller portions, that's cool too.
Yeah.
I know that we certainly enjoyed some beer from
at every one of our breaks.
Yeah. So we hope you do too. Safely.
Yeah. So enjoy the episode.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, Erica and Sound Guy Ryan, what is up?
Hello.
We are here in. It looks like it's about to rain on this Wednesday when we're recording.
But it's a beautiful. I mean, like it's warm. I mean, like it's really nice.
Feeling that 70 degree and like it's almost like a hug, right? You're outside and you're like, oh, it's like a hug.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna rain, but it's warm and heavy.
I don't
know where I was going with that.
April. It's gonna be April.
It's a little spring rain session.
Yeah. April showers bring
Mayflowers.
That's right. And I actually heard a joke recently.
Did you?
And it was like,
was it funny?
It was like, but where do the pilgrims come? Like it was led on to that. I don't know. It was like my girlfriend told me.
Oh, okay.
And I laughed at the time because I wanted to make her feel like she's funny.
Right.
Now she really is funny. That was really a jerky thing to say. No, but it was a good joke. I wish I could just like.
She'll tell a joke next time.
I wish I could. Yeah, she'll.
Yeah.
Punchline.
She'll kill it.
Oof.
Okay.
She's like the best comedian ever. Yeah.
I believe it.
So we were talking about April. The month of April is coming up.
Indeed.
And Earth Day occurs during that month.
Yes.
Which I always laugh when they're like, oh, this is, Earth Month, right? Or, it's like we should be aware of these things.
Every month.
Yeah. Right? But it's good to highlight that and it's on the forefront of people's mind. So maybe they can carry it over into May, June, July, so on and so forth. And if you follow the Brew Roots page on, any sort of social media, you will oftentimes see us reshare our guests' content, whether it's, the Mass Brew Bros or his other identity, eco-friendly beer drinker.
Oh, yeah.
Which, personally, is my favorite one. No offense to Bob. I love Mass Brew Bros, but I like the eco-friendly beer content. We're here with Rob. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm great. How you doing?
Good. Is this your third
time? Are you a three-time guest?
I was going to say, I'm feeling a little guilty that maybe I'm on the show a little too often.
No. We love it.
No. Well, you guys are technically on the show every week. We do give you a bump.
Whatever. Yeah, I've only been on once by myself. The other times was like these little guest panels and things.
Yeah. But those are a lot of fun. We've done those. We did the COVID impacts of...
Brewers Roundtable.
And then we did sustainability in craft beer. And
I'm kind of doing a little bit more of that for Earth Day.
Yeah. And Rob came like fully prepared today. So like I'm excited.
Got notes.
So
like we're ready to go.
So what do we want to talk about today?
So I think, again, as you said, April's here. It's Earth Month. Earth Day is a really great opportunity, like you said, to sort of talk about the whole idea of sustainability and protecting our planet and not taking it for granted. So I figured we would kind of get into that idea and look at it through the lens of, the craft beer industry, both from the perspective of the breweries themselves, as well as the consumers. What can we do as beer drinkers also? Because there is a lot that we can do too. So I brought along, as you said, a bunch of notes. And I figured if we could, for the first few minutes, we kind of talk a little bit about sort of what is sustainability, sort of do a quick little crash course on that sort of idea.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think they know that term.
It's a buzzword, and we don't necessarily know what it means.
I completely agree. Yeah. And a year and a half ago, I would have been one of those people, right? I cared about the environment. I like nature. I was, in my mind, a great recycler. But like most people, I didn't really know. So now, a year and a half later, having taken some coursework at the Harvard Extension School to try to get a sustainability certificate so that I'll have a credential, and as a teacher, maybe I can transition into a new sort of work world, and that's the direction I might want to go. I feel like I look back on that year and a half ago, Rob, and say, wow, you didn't really know all that much except, sustainability.
Right.
I think I kind of know what that is.
Yeah. We see a lot of breweries use that word as well. And we're going to get into
We'll get into that
later too.
But
Yeah, and it's not just breweries, it's businesses everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
for sure.
Some of it is very genuine, and some of it is capitalizing on the marketing opportunity because it is important and it's only going to become more important. And some of it is what's actually called greenwashing, is a kind of a
Yes.
trendy term in the industry, at least, where you try to take whatever you're doing and you paint it with a green brush to make it look like it's really environmentally conscious, when in reality you're just spending more time doing that than you actually are doing something that would lessen your impact on the planet. And that's tricky to, again, know how to sort of spot that when you see it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So tell us, what is sustainability?
Great. So the idea of sustainability is there's a sort of a specific definition that was made up a few decades ago. And it's basically this. It's a really easy thing to understand. It's meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs.
Pretty basic, right?
Yeah.
Very.
Right. And then if you put it into action, that's where it gets a little bit more complicated.
For sure.
Because, again, our culture isn't necessarily focused that much on thinking about the future.
It's kind of more about the here and now, for sure.
Yeah. So, again, we don't have the time to go into it, and we need a lot more beer if we did. But the traditional sort of linear economy that we have, that we're familiar with, right, which is you take raw materials, you make stuff out of it. Usually there's a fair amount of pollution, unfortunately, involved with, making things. And then you sort of use it up and you waste it.
Right.
And again, that isn't going to really work. We have now a population of 7.8 billion people on this planet, and it's expected to grow to close to 10 billion within our lifetimes by 2050.
Yeah.
So that just isn't really sustainable if we continue to do things the way we're doing them now. And that's why you hear a lot of people sounding alarm bells and saying it's time to start thinking about making some changes.
Yeah.
So that's, again, an important thing when people are talking about sustainability. It isn't just this fun thing that's kind of nice. It's going to be a very real necessity.
So it's not just a sexy buzzword that you see that, we're green. It's a real thing.
Right. I'll give you two quick little examples here. So there's this thing called the Global Footprint Network, and they calculate that we need, at this point, 1.6 Earths are needed to support humanity's current sort of demand on our resources. So if you think about that, that's a little scary, right? We're using up an Earth and a half's worth of stuff every year, and how long can we do that before we're just out of stuff? I mean, obviously people see headlines. We've got climate change concerns. We've got deforestation concerns. We've got ocean plastic concerns. Like, we're getting to the point where some of that stuff's going to have to be dealt with.
Right.
And one other quick thing. So there's this other thing, if you ever see it, it's called Earth Overshoot Day. It's the date when humanity's demands on the resources that we have are sort of
met for that year.
Used up for that
year.
And typically it happens in July. This last year, because of COVID and everything being slowed down and shut down, it was actually 3 weeks later into August. That's the first time it's been later in the year for more than a decade. And
do they anticipate it being sooner now because of people going like crazy and going?
They haven't put out a date yet. I haven't seen a date yet, but my guess is it's going to be somewhere in between.
Okay.
I would guess we would go back a couple of weeks. That's just a guess.
Yeah.
Guess.
Yeah.
But I think because we are slower than we were, but things are sort of getting back to a kind of normal-ish. So another quick thing to think about is a lot of people, when you talk about sustainability, they will argue that, well, it's too expensive, it's not affordable, it's not practical. And while that may be true if you just measure it from the perspective of dollars, it's not really true at all when you think about the actual real costs. And the fancy term for that is called externalities. And that's all the things that are built in to having to create and use up all of these different products, for example, that we do, or the energy that we consume, right? If we don't consider the pollution aspect of things and the cleanup aspects of things, when we start to really think about that and add that in, it's
How
like
much that costs.
it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
no wonder plastic's so cheap. Nobody's paying anything for all this supposed recycling, much of which isn't happening. And
Right.
so then we're devastating the ocean. And when we don't have enough healthy fish to eat anymore, or when seaside communities start not being able to, have their livelihoods work
Right.
anymore, those are crazy costs that are going to be astronomical. And we want to prevent that, obviously.
Ryan, you know about that just being in the fish industry.
I do. And, unfortunately, that isn't the only thing that affects it.
So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah, and we won't get into it, but he's definitely right on that part of it.
Yeah. I have a feeling he's right about a lot of it.
So a quick couple of positive things then. But there are some answers, right? And some lenses to look through that are sort of answer lenses that you can say, okay, what are these breweries or any business for that matter?
Yeah.
What are they doing that's the right thing? And one is this concept called extended producer responsibility, or EPR. And that's something people will start to hear a lot more of in the future, because it's going to start being part of our sort of political push. And the idea behind it is that the people that are creating and selling at retail all of these different products, they're going to have to start understanding the externalities and working that into the economics.
Yeah.
And therefore, being responsible for helping us prevent these different types of problems that can come along with, for example, all the single use that we're doing. That's a big one. That's a problem. Again, 7.8 billion people. You can't have a culture of single use. It just doesn't work.
It hasn't worked. Yeah. Sure.
And then the other one is a really obvious one that everybody knows but doesn't think that much about always, and it's the idea of reduce, reuse, recycle.
Right.
There's one word that's very important, right?
Well,
Or
there's
all
one
three,
word that
yeah.
everyone focuses on.
Yeah.
But it's all important.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's not sort of in a random order. Like reduce is the first word because that is by far the most important word. And that's how you're actually going to have sustainability, is by we need to create fewer things. Like we need to stop having single use and make fewer things.
Yep.
Then the reuse is, if you make things, you have to use them
Right.
as many times as long as possible. And then when there's no other sort of choice left, that's when you try to recycle. And again, we could talk about recycling for an hour, but recycling is largely...
It's kind of, I don't want to say fake news at this point, but it's not really as real as everyone likes to think it is.
That's an excellent way of saying
Yeah.
it. And it's,
I also think it just gives someone like an attaboy, right? It's like
You recycled.
I recycled
Great
it. Good
job.
job. You did your part, but
A lot of that recycling doesn't get recycled. It just goes to landfills.
yeah.
and
Yeah.
and the thing is that's tough about it is that I recycle my ass off.
Same.
And I'm sure a lot of other people
Yeah.
do. And I even know how sort of fruitless a lot of it is, but it's like,
Better
I can
than
do
nothing,
this.
I guess.
Right. And I can do this now, and I can
Yeah.
feel good that at least I'm trying to do something.
Right.
But we need to get, again, beyond that to the point where we can all embrace and figure out how to reduce so much, of the single use and what we're doing, how to reuse that as many times
Yeah.
as possible. And then hopefully we can recycle a lot less and make it more practical.
It's hard, but someone recycling as the consumer is, and reusing, right? You can, as a consumer, you can reuse and you can recycle, but how much can you, as a consumer, really reduce?
It's an outstanding point and something that really frustrates people like myself because it's largely out of our hands.
Right.
You have two choices, and I'm coming up against this all the time in my personal life, right? Because I don't live on an island. I live with my wife.
Right.
And, my wife has a family, and when we go together to stay at like the family sort of vacation, it's like, it's difficult
Yeah.
because I can either say, no, I don't do that anymore. I gave up this, I gave up that, I gave up the other thing. But you can't expect everybody else to, and that's
Right.
challenging. So it's either that or you just hope that these companies do better and do the right thing. But again, you have no control over that.
Right. You can try and use your dollars and buy from better companies that you think are doing a better job,
Right, but you really don't have that visibility.
Right. You don't know for sure, and it's not always easy to do that.
Right. So I'll give you a quick example. I've decided to make a pretty substantial sacrifice in my life. I've decided like more than a year ago, I'm done with single-use consumption of beer. I figured let's choose beer. Again, it's only one thing. There's plenty of other things, unfortunately, that I still consume single-use, but beer is meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And so I figured if I can figure out how to make this work, it can make a statement to other people and it can make me think more about everything.
Right.
So I literally will consume beer only on draft in a reusable glassware. So, go to
Growlers.
the brewery and actually get a beer at the brewery poured there if they're using real glass, which a lot of them are not.
Or not right now with COVID. Yeah.
Or take a growler home. And it has to be, if I'm going to do growlers, it needs to be a growler that I know I'll go and refill again. I don't want to go back 3 or 4 years ago when I had the collection of 900 growlers, but I didn't use 888 of them.
Right.
So I've got 6 or 8 breweries at this point, and that's where I'm drinking my beer now. So I've sacrificed that. Everyone's talking about this awesome new beer, but I can't get it.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's the challenge of it all right now.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, let's do one more thing that's a little deepish or heavy-ish.
Sure, one more. We can handle one more.
And we'll spare all your listeners by talking about some more sort of upbeat, positive things, because there's a lot of really cool stuff happening too, and a lot of great breweries that are doing some fun things. So here's one thing I would say, though, to think about and to look for, again, using this idea of a lens, right, looking through. It's what I would call the low-hanging fruit, or the sort of greenwashing-ish aspect of the industry. And there are 3 or 4 things, for example, that pretty much every brewery is doing.
Yeah.
But if that's all they're sort of hanging their hat on from a sustainability perspective, I think you could do a lot better.
Yeah.
So the first one, I'll just give you a couple of quick examples of this. Aluminum cans. You're seeing a little less now, but a lot of people were saying, oh, we use aluminum cans for our beer now. That's wonderful, but you're doing that because everybody's doing that. And to sell beer at this day and age,
you need to be
kind of have to put it in cans. That's just sort of what is the consumer demand. And there's a whole bunch of other advantages to doing it from an economic standpoint. But from a realistic standpoint, from sustainability, unless you're shooting your beer all over the country.
Yeah.
Right. Then it's making a difference because they're lighter weight. They're easier to stack. You can get more in a truck. But most breweries aren't filling up a truck full of beer and sending it off all over the place every week. So it's pretty nominal in terms of that.
But if it's in a bottle, it's not cool. That's the
well, it travels better, right?
Sure. So again, that's what I'm saying is that so it's fine if they do it in cans. Great. But it doesn't make them sustainable. It's like that's not an eco-friendly thing to do per se.
And hot tip, not to interrupt, but I always like to make sure people know you have to take the sticker off the can if you're going to recycle it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Please do that. I know you can't do it with all of them. The ones that use the shrink wrap, you can't really do that. But you can cut it. There you go. I actually haven't done that. That's dumb. I should have tried that.
X-Acto knife works great.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But please just do that and then you can recycle it.
Yeah, good point on that. Another one is serving their beer in compostable cups.
Ooh.
Which is, again, and I don't fault a lot of the breweries. They don't necessarily even know sometimes. But these bioplastic cups aren't actually really compostable unless you collect them separately from both your recycling and your garbage stream. So you literally need a third stream, third waste receptacle that has nothing but these cups, these compostable cups, and then you actually have to have a company take them to a commercial composting facility to get them into this giant sort of composter that has a high enough temperature for a long enough time that will actually melt that stuff down to like sort of like compost. And it's never going to be the compost that you would use to like grow vegetables because it's plastic. It's gone through a chemical process that's altered.
Right. There's no nutrients in that or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, is that better than regular plastic cups? No.
And it's probably costing you more to do that in the end.
It does cost
and more energy to
it does cost them more.
Down.
Yeah.
It's a marketing thing though, right? They can most people don't know. And again, a year and a half ago, I didn't know either.
No.
Yeah.
But now I'm a
I
little bit
just
wiser.
found out now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Same.
So sadly, that isn't necessarily helpful. It's again, it seems like a nice thing, but again, if that's the sustainability initiative,
Yeah.
a lot more can be done. We can talk
Yeah.
about what a few breweries are actually doing later. The third and last one is this one everybody's heard a billion times, which is we're donating. I'm using air quotes a lot today. We're
Lots of air
donating,
quotes here. Yes.
we're donating our spent grains to a farm.
Ooh.
Great. That's wonderful. Actually, that's really nice. But everybody is doing something with their spent grains
You have
because literally there's a ban in Massachusetts and many other states that does not allow a commercial business to send its food waste, be it spent grains or anything else, into landfill. You literally cannot do it. If you get caught, you're going to get fined for doing it. And on top of that,
You could lose your license, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Something.
yeah. And so, I mean, that again isn't really something that they're doing to be sustainable. They're doing it because they need a solution
They
to
have to
a
do
waste
something.
problem.
Yeah.
And it's actually the cheapest way to do it. If they're
Right.
going to pay to have a composting company come and collect it and take it to their composting facility, they can do that, but that costs more than donating it to a
local
farm.
farmer.
Or
Mhm.
they can, have it taken by another company that might make biofuel out of it. Again, great. Cost more money, though, than donating to a farm. So,
Right.
again, I'm not saying it isn't a good thing, but again, if those are the three things that our breweries doing, there's a whole lot more that they could be doing.
Yeah.
Definitely. And actually, I just want to ask real quick. Pactex, not recyclable but reusable, right? I don't know how much you know about that.
Yeah. Oh, Erica, don't open this.
Oh no!
Don't open this can of worms with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just real quick though, I'll talk teeny tiny about that maybe a little bit later. But yes, they are definitely reusable. And if a
Okay.
brewery is going to use Pactex to package its beer, it really should take those back and try to reuse them. If you
Yeah.
can reuse them multiple times, which some breweries are having a lot of success with,
Yeah.
that is great, because otherwise it's just a single-use plastic. Just
Right.
because it says 100% recyclable on it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that that's true, because you can't pitch it into your recycling bin and it just won't get recycled.
Right.
Yeah.
So listen, I can't say anything, but stay tuned. I've got some things in the works to really try to tackle that issue, and I don't want to make any promises, but
But
there's,
stay tuned.
there's
Stay tuned.
some optimism possibly on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So
All right. So we are going to,
screw off a top of a growler.
yeah, I was going to say crack open a beer, but we're going to screw up the top of a growler. You're going to listen to a word from our sponsors,
Sponsors, yep.
and hopefully you're screwing the top off a growler, or you're at a brewery with your headphones on being
Yeah.
antisocial, whatever.
It's cool.
That's cool. I've done it. No shame. And yeah,
We'll be back.
we'll be back. We got some cool sponsors. Enjoy.
Did you know that your favorite Massachusetts breweries use hops from a local family-owned hop farm right here in Massachusetts?
Our friends over at 4-Star Farms are there for you whether you're a commercial brewery or a small batch home brewer.
Make sure to head over to their website today and get your hands on some of the best and freshest hops available locally. Cheers.
At our local homebrew shop, Beer and Wine Hobby, you can get everything you need to make beer, wine, cider, cheese, and more. Not sure where to start? They have knowledgeable staff there to help. Beer and Wine Hobby is family owned and located in Danvers, Massachusetts. Visit their website, beer-wine.com, and use our promo code BREWROOTS for 10% off your online order today.
Shirks on Tap is the box subscription service where you can get some of the dopest brewery t-shirts out there. I'm talking breweries from Dallas, San Diego, and even our home area of New England. And you might ask, how do I get my hands on some? To get your first box for $5, click the link below in our description, or head on over to our website, brewroots.com. Remember, drink better beer, wear better shirts. And we're back. And I love sponsor breaks that are fueled by beer pours.
Yeah. I agree. Me too.
We should do those more often.
Yeah.
So many times we're like, oh, sponsor break. Let's get right back into the interview. Let's keep the momentum.
And this was fueled by Cambridge Brewing Company
That's right.
and their
Boy,
Tiny geometry.
yeah, Will Myers, what a bad brewer. I'm just kidding. He's like, everything they make
We
there
love
is
him.
just like
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it.
Yeah, no, that's my local brewery. I live in Cambridge.
Yeah, I'm so jealous about that.
I love Cambridge
Yeah.
Brewing Company.
Yeah.
They have a great scene there.
They do.
Dog friendly. I can bring my
Great food, too.
They have really
Yeah.
good food. They still offer growlers, which for me is
Perfect.
hugely important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting beer. It's tiny geometries, like you were saying. It's a toasted red ale, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a solid red ale with a little bit of a toasty note to it. It's,
Roasty.
toasty roasty.
Just roasty. No, I like it. Yeah, it's hard to not like their beer.
Indeed.
All right, so
What's next?
We were gonna go into like lighter stuff, right?
Yeah, so I figured we should talk now about, okay, so what are or what can breweries be doing? And then we can talk, same thing, what are and what can consumers be
yeah,
doing?
definitely. Definitely.
So I have a few categories. So starting with the sort of big and obvious one is, either figure out ways to conserve energy in the brewing process, because it is very energy intensive industry, craft brewing, and or can you do renewable energy? So at first blush, people might be like, oh my goodness, who's this guy think these breweries are?
Gosh,
They're
bro.
not New Belgium. They're not, $1 million enterprises.
Right.
That said, I'll give you 4 examples right off the top here. So Riverwalk Brewing, they are sort of fortunate, granted. The building that they are in is run on 100% renewable energy.
Yeah, they have
Yeah.
that big
They have a windmill.
yeah,
right?
turbine.
And
They
then is
have
there
the-
anything else?
They have the big wind turbine, and they have a 500 solar panel array on the roof.
That's right. That's right.
So literally,
So
as
cool.
long as it's either sort of sunny or a little windy, they're using nothing but renewable energy to
Yeah.
brew their beer, which is really cool.
Definitely.
And that makes a big difference. The other one that people may know of, which was the first in Massachusetts, maybe even the first in New England, or I want to go crazy and say possibly one of the first on the East Coast,
What?
Barrington Brewery,
Tell us more.
out
Yeah.
Western Mass. So they have a large solar array as well, and they
Okay.
draw roughly 85% of their power just from that.
Nice.
The summertime, they told me it's a little tough because air conditioning and all that drains
Yeah.
a lot.
Of course, yeah.
So that's another example. And the way he described it to me, the owner, was that yes, it costs some money up front, but you get paid back. And once you're paid back, you're getting free
I was going to
electricity
say, it's
for
the
the
same
rest of the
thing
time.
as
Yeah.
like a homeowner. When you invest in solar energy, yeah, it's a lot up front, but eventually you don't have to pay for electricity and things, So,
Right. And you get to feel good that you're doing the right
Right.
thing, and
Right.
you get consumers who care about that.
exactly.
Another one is Seventh Wave Brewing, and I'm embarrassed to say that up until about 3 weeks ago or so, when I went to visit, because I hadn't been in a while, I didn't know that they have a giant solar array on their roof as well.
We interviewed them and they didn't
I
even
don't
tell
know
us
if they
about
told us
that.
that,
And we
yeah.
asked about sustainability.
It
So
may not have been finalized yet because
That
he had
could
to
be
go
it.
through this whole process with the town to get all the permitting, and there's a
okay.
lot
Maybe
of
not.
there can be some red
Yeah.
tape, but
yeah.
they're up and running now, and they produce literally twice as much energy as they need because they're a relatively
They're pretty small.
operation.
Yeah.
So he's selling energy
I was gonna
back
say-
to the grid.
Yeah.
He's
that's-
making money off of it. Again, he'll have to pay that off, but it won't take
That's
him long
awesome.
at that rate of
That's awesome.
using half of what you're getting.
Yeah. Wow.
So very cool. And then here's the kicker, right? So again, if somebody's saying, I can't do that, I don't have the right kind of roof, I don't have the upfront capital, I don't have a person who can spend the time researching and figuring out how to get a grant or whatever.
Yeah.
Fine. Do what Cambridge Brewing Company does, which is they source their green energy through a program, an option that relies on renewable energy credits, it's called. So you can find a third-party provider, or
Yeah.
most regular providers nowadays will have an option where you just pay a slightly different rate, and they take that extra money and they draw it from the different renewable sources that are around in New England.
Yep.
And it also allows to sort of help fund that industry to get it up and running so that it's getting closer and closer to being on
That's
par
cool.
with, with fossil fuels. And in some instances, I think wind energy now is basically even Steven almost.
Wow.
with fossil fuel costs. And
That's really awesome.
Solar is getting close. I mean,
Yeah.
it won't be long before it'll be the same amount of money
Definitely,
for either
definitely.
one.
So are they doing that with all of their electricity, or they're just buying whatever they can?
Their electricity is all through these RECs.
That's really cool.
Again, pretty much almost any business in Massachusetts is likely to be able to do this as well, and it might vary from one town or city to the next.
Sure,
but
sure.
it's not drastically more expensive.
Huh, that's really cool. I didn't know that at all. Nice.
Really cool option. Okay, another obvious one that people have heard of, but again, some people are doing it really seriously, would be the idea of investing in local ingredients. And again, this makes a huge difference because it's like, it's all the miles that all of these ingredients have to be driven on trucks and shipped and whatnot to get to a brewery. That adds up before you've even started like using the energy to actually brew the beer. So
I can't imagine too, for just brewing, that ingredient is now not nearly as fresh as it was. So it probably makes a difference,
Definitely.
right?
Yeah, that's good.
I would think.
yeah, I'm not a brewer, so I don't want to.
No, of course,
Sure.
but
quite sure.
I bet it makes a difference.
So some examples that people are probably familiar with. One is an obvious one. I would assume that anybody who's had Wormtown beer before knows that they have a beer with probably one of the best names in all beers in the whole state.
Yeah.
called
Asshole.
Masshole
Lager.
It is our
My
favorite. It's amazing.
Favorite beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an amazing beer,
Yeah.
super sessionable, super tasty, and it's brewed almost exclusively with Massachusetts-grown malts.
Yeah.
Sometimes Ben told me he's
Well,
the head
ingredients
brewer.
in general too, I think.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
It's
right.
very rarely there's like one or two ingredients that they cannot
Right.
get at that time.
Right.
They say a piece of mass in every glass.
They do. Good job, Ryan.
Yes, they do. That is some good marketing there.
Yeah.
That's a serious beer name with
Definitely.
a great slogan. Yeah, hard to
Yeah.
beat.
Yeah.
So that's a good one because it's a flagship beer too, right?
Yeah.
That's something they produce now. They produce it year round.
Definitely.
And
Oh yeah.
so that's pretty cool. So look for that beer. Another one, I don't know if people saw this news, but recently Trillium just put out a brand new beer called Grain Shed.
Oh, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really neat story. So
Is it a part of the Northeast Grain Shed?
Trillium is one of the founding members of this thing called the Northeast Grain Shed. I think it's actually undergoing a slight name change, but it's this big network of businesses and farms that are trying to say, hey, we've got an area of the country, our region, that can grow its own grain,
Yeah.
which again, that's hugely helpful. It's
Yeah.
just good for our local economy, but it's also good because it's saving us from having to get stuff from all the way out in the Midwest or whatever.
Right. Right.
So they are using grains from Valley Malt, some actual corn from their own farm in Stonington, Connecticut. People
cool.
probably forgot about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
They bought that farm a
Right.
couple of years ago.
Yeah.
They're farming there now.
Yeah.
So that, and they have like a local hops
Yep.
that they got. It was a collaboration with Kent Falls Brewing in Connecticut, and so they brought up
Very
some
cool.
of their only local hops. So it's a really cool beer again that's like completely local with one of the ingredients like grown by the actual brewery.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So pretty neat. And then the third one, and this one's kind of awesome, which is Craft Roots Brewing in Milford. They literally brew exclusively with locally sourced
Yeah.
malt, like within New England for
Yeah.
all of their beers, not just for one beer or for a flagship, like for all
Yeah.
of their beers. That's really cool. And they get not 100%, but close to 100% of hops are also local. So right within the sort of northeast
Yeah.
New England area.
We see that more and more. One of our recent interviews does the same thing. I think they get all their stuff from Valley Malt. And a lot of people use other brands, but definitely seeing that more and more, supporting the local
Yeah.
industry like that.
Yeah,
Throwback.
and
Yeah, throwback,
Throwback, yeah.
exactly. Yep.
sure. And it's not just Valley Malt. It's because they can't actually create enough to
To fulfill
To fill
the-
everyone.
everybody. But
Of course.
Maine has
Blue Ox,
Maltsters,
I
yeah,
think.
Blue Ox, yep.
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 And so there's enough, and there's a place in Vermont that they use too. But
Yeah.
within New England, it's
There's a
getting
good
There's,
to the
network.
there's a
point.
couple
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. And so it's cool. So that's some really cool stuff for local ingredients. So look for those kinds of beers. Those are meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they taste amazing.
Yeah.
Most
Thank
of them
you,
are
Ryan.
quite good. I would
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
Yes.
So the question, we aren't, and I just want to make a statement. We're not here to tell breweries what to do with their business. These are just mere suggestions on how to be sustainable and make more of an impact.
And for consumers to also use your dollar signs to make an impact
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
it does raise the question, you're a small brewery. We interviewed someone like Penny Pinchers, for example, who 2-person operation, they're brewing on a 7-barrel system.
Every penny.
every
really.
penny kind of matters, you know,
Yeah.
when you have to make a decision between, you know, paying someone for marketing, you know, are those options? You mentioned the one that's you can buy into sustainable,
energy.
and it's not that much of a difference, but some of the other ones, you know, in solar power, that's a big upfront cost. You know, if that wasn't in your original plan, how do you make that into your...
Sure. And again, I think, you know, as consumers, we just have to decide what do we value, and we have to sometimes, I think, also say that it's not always the bottom line, it's not always sustainability. I also value having a local brewery. So
Yeah.
there are different ways, and we can get into the consumer stuff, but there's different ways to measure your footprint. So, I mean, it's great that you can get one of these beers that's grown with local ingredients, but if you're driving 4 towns over to get it and 4 towns back to get home with it, and it's in a single-use can, as opposed to if you just went to your own local brewery that maybe the ingredients weren't local, but you drank a draft right there from a reusable glass, and whatever you walked or biked over, who knows if it's close enough. I mean, that kind of stuff matters too. So, I mean, if we wanted to say what could we do if we were consumers, like what would be the best thing we could possibly do? Just drink beer from your own local area, like from small breweries. But again, and that's one of my things to talk about later, but for sure. And again, I think, you know, and maybe it takes a brewery a few years to make some money, and then maybe you charge them a little bit harsher 3 years in as opposed to the first year, where you're like, okay, you're up, you're running, you're making some real money. Can you now think about putting some of that money that you're going to invest in your business? Can you invest it in some meaningful sustainability areas? So, and there's lots of grant opportunities and fundings and things. So let's skip ahead then maybe to thinking a little bit more about what can consumers do, since we're kind of heading in that direction anyways.
Before we get too far, let's crack open a fresh beer and hear a word from our sponsors.
Are you a solo artist, band, podcaster, or anyone else who needs recording services?
Well, we got a place for you where your vision can become a reality.
Welcome to Small Pond Studios, built by hand with heart and sweat equity by musicians for musicians.
Go to smallpondstudios.io to reach out to get more information. And make sure you let them know that Brew sent you. Hey, Sound Guy Ryan here. Didn't know if you heard, but we're a part of the Hopped Up Network. There you'll find other informative podcasts about beer. So go ahead, follow them on social media, and visit them on their website, hoppedupnetwork.com, to learn more about the people, beer, and breweries from around the country. And until next time, thanks for listening. Cheers.
All right, so we're back with Rob, aka Eco-Friendly Beer Drinker, aka one half of the Mass Brew Bros. And we were just talking about, you know, what breweries can do to make a positive carbon footprint, and how they can be sustainable now that we know what sustainability really is.
Right.
But we missed something, didn't we?
Yeah, I guess there's one other important one that we didn't mention that I think we should, because there's some breweries doing some cool stuff in this area. So another thing I think is to just figure out and think about, can you decrease your single-use packaging, especially plastic? And so I want to give a shout out to the 5 Massachusetts breweries that are currently using the E6PR.
Only 5?
Yeah, that's too bad. Actually, no, wait. What? It's
Me?
actually 6.
Oh, yes.
I forgot.
This
I
just
added
in.
one. I had forgotten about one and added one just before the show. So you're at 6. Okay.
All right.
We all feel better.
Yeah.
So the E6PRs are these compostable can carriers.
Yes.
That are great because they actually are really compostable. They're not bioplastic. They're made from like legitimate
Like
plant
papers.
fiber.
Okay.
Plant fiber that
Yep.
if you put it either in your recycling bin, it'll get recycled just like paper or cardboard. If you put it in your trash, it will actually decompose and break down.
Rumor has it you can eat it.
I
I wouldn't eat it.
I'm
but-
pretty sure they actually say that you shouldn't
Funny
feed
you
it to
said that.
fishes.
Super early on, they marketed that it was edible for sea
fish.
life,
For fish,
Right,
yeah.
which
yeah.
is a terrible marketing.
Because
it's not true.
idea, because it is. Well, it's edible. So isn't a lot of crappy food that Americans all
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Doesn't mean it's good for you.
Yeah. Okay. So do not
So
eat it.
We don't want to be feeding
I've been
the
eating-
fish with canned carrots.
So-
Okay. Noted.
Please do not feed the
So that
fish
explains a
with
lot.
this.
I've been eating them, and it explains a total lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
six
who are the
breweries,
six?
breweries using them, which is really meaningful and impactful. So it's Anawan Brewing, brand new,
They're brand new. Yeah.
Okay.
just opened up down in Rehoboth, Massachusetts.
UMass Lowell graduate. I know him.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool. Fun
owned
facts.
by veterans.
Yeah.
And their tap room will be open later this summer. Right now, they're doing
Build out
can
everything
sales
else.
to go, and
okay.
they're building out the brewery. Essex County Brewing
Yep.
Local.
uses them.
Whoop whoop.
Gentilly Brewing uses
Oh
them.
yeah.
Holyoke Craft Beer out in Holyoke
Nice.
uses them. Redemption Rock Brewing in Worcester
Yep.
uses them. And Rockport Brewing, which is a contract brand
Yes.
out of Rockport, is
Yep.
using them.
All of our faves.
All of our faves. Many guests on the Brewers.
They all
Yes.
make good beer, and it's a really cool thing that they're doing.
And Redemption
Good beer
Rock.
and like awesome people. I have to say, like all of those
Yes.
breweries you mentioned are awesome people.
Agreed.
Definitely. And Redemption Rock is a I want to say Plan B. It's not Plan
B Corp.
Thank you, B
Yeah,
Corp.
Green Corp. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. The only
Yeah.
one in Massachusetts, I believe.
They are, yeah. There's only
Yeah.
3 in New England that are B
Right.
Corp
Them,
breweries.
Alchemist, and
Allagash.
Allagash,
Allagash.
yep.
So,
Yep.
real quick, a B Corp brewery is a brewery that goes through a third-party process to do a sort of
It's like grading, right? It's like a
right.
scale
So they have
system,
an
yeah.
audit to sort of
Yeah.
say, here's what you're doing,
It's
and
real
you need to
tough to
earn
do.
a certain number of points in each
Yeah.
area. So it's people, planet, and that's supposed to be equal to profit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the amazing part, and I don't want to just, I
Deviate
love,
too much.
yeah, I don't want to, but we know who Alchemist is, right? Happy
Yep.
Topper, right?
Yep.
People know who that is. You know what Allagash is?
Yep.
Allagash White.
Yep. Yep.
Redemption Rock is so small. I mean,
They
it is
only have been
probably
open
the
a couple
size of
years
what,
now.
yeah, and that is just, an omen to say, like, if you're a small brewery, you can do,
You can achieve it.
you can
if
achieve
want
it too. Like, they,
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to be Alchemist, and all applause to Alchemist, and
Totally, but
you know,
you
they
don't
have the
have
assets
to be
to
a
do it, so
massive
they did it.
brewery. Yeah.
but there are a lot of massive breweries.
Completely agreed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to their credit, this was part of their business plan
Early
From
on.
the beginning.
Yeah.
all along.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
Yep.
that was a huge thing. I remember seeing Danny's post about that and just being like, fuck yeah, great for you guys.
yeah.
A quick question is: do you think Treehouse will become B Corp with their whole new facility that they're building right now?
if they want it, I guess. Right, because they have to
Do you
apply
think?
to
Do you
that.
think it'll be feasible for them? Because it's like one of like the new things about is like very sustainable, very reusable energy.
Solar.
They're already like not using PackTex, etc.
I was just going to mention them. I wanted to give a shout out to 2 more breweries that don't
Gosh,
use
Ryan, shut
PackTex
up.
either.
I'll just shut up.
They use no can carriers at all, in fact, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just cardboard. So
Very
that's
cool.
Treehouse does that, and another brewery out in Western Mass called Brick and Feather does the
Yes.
same thing.
Yes,
they
yes,
just give you a little corrugated cardboard box, which is
Yeah.
reusable many times, and one of the
Easy to recycle.
It's easy
Very
to
easy
store in
to
your
recycle.
fridge, too. The PackTex, I hate storing it in my fridge. Like,
So back to Treehouse real fast. If I knew anything about Treehouse, Ryan, I would share it with you. But as you probably know, they are so
Yeah.
tight-lipped there. You cannot
even
get
know.
anything out of them.
they're the only
They just-
brewery to say no to us.
They,
Yeah.
This
very
is true.
secretive,
Yeah.
but they do some cool stuff, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't shock me if maybe at some point they tried to get something like a B Corp certification.
It just seems that they have all of the cards in their hand. Like,
It fits.
Why not?
Right.
Yeah.
like it looks like they want to do that.
It fits with their image. Yes.
Oh, yeah, for
exactly.
sure.
Absolutely.
yeah.
I will say, I wouldn't be shocked if Trillium would look at something like
Yeah,
that at
I
some
was
point
gonna say
too.
too.
Yep.
Agreed.
They're very
They're,
close.
I could tell you a little more about Trillium because they will actually talk to you when
Yes.
you send them an email or a message. But they have some really cool things in the works. So keep your ears open for
Can't
some
wait
fun
to
and
hear
cool stuff for
more.
Trillium, and especially in the sustainability field.
Maybe we'll talk to them first. We'll beat you.
I doubt it.
Okay, let's go quickly then to consumers because,
Yes.
again, as we talked about earlier, we can't necessarily control
What the corporations are doing.
Yeah.
what businesses and corporations
Right.
do, and so what can we control? So again, buy local. Don't give it lip service. Actually, freaking do it. It's not as hard as you might think.
Yes.
But I mean, just frequent your local breweries more often and
Yes.
experiment with all the different beers they have to offer. you're driving less, you're supporting your local economy. If you're drinking on premises, all the much better. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. But again, I don't think something we do quite as much as we could. We all, myself included, but a lot less these days, get caught up in the whole idea of there's so many breweries, there's so many different beers to try.
Right.
I don't know.
And the biggest and newest beer, you want to go and travel and get that. And I get it. But like you were saying, your local brewery is making those new and exciting beers too.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
It's such a
so
collector
check 'em
thing.
out.
I mean, like,
It
is.
collect your
Like,
local beers.
Yeah. No,
Challenge yourself to try every beer from your local brewery.
Yeah.
You know?
And again, it's less beer miles,
Right.
if you're just doing that. Anyways, another one is drink draft beer more often. So again, if you're drinking draft beer on premises, there's not much you can do. It's better than that because it doesn't require any packaging or any of the energy required to make the packaging, to ship the packaging, to dispose of the packaging later. If you're drinking on premises from draft, it's coming straight out of, the tanks that made it into kegs, which are highly reusable. They use kegs for years and years. And so that's ideal.
Not to mention, it's going to taste better too.
Yeah, and draft beer is fantastic. So drink more draft beer, I would say, if you can. Choose refillables if you feel like you really need to take beer home, which a lot of people do, especially this last year. That's been really important. But, can you find breweries that still honor growlers? And even if there's just one or two breweries, and again, that are in your area, in your region, just get a growler from that place. And just when you go there, instead of taking cans, just take a growler, whether it's a 32 ouncer if you want the smaller one. A lot of people have it, or a 64 ouncer. Not all the breweries doing growlers anymore, but enough are.
Most of them will still accept it. If you have a blank one or anything that has no brand recognition on it, most breweries will still take them. Even if they don't necessarily sell their own, they'll still fill it for you.
Yeah, and one more quick interesting thought on that. If you're having a party, I don't know, relive your college days.
Get
a keg.
Instead of a whole bunch of cans coming, seriously, get a six
kegger.
or a keg, and have everybody share the same beer and whatever. Chat about the beer and enjoy it and relax. And I don't know, maybe there's not so much of the one-upsmanship of somebody coming in saying, "Oh, I got some tree houses here," or some Trilliums here.
Right.
Just drink whatever you can get.
I totally have a friend like that with Finback. It's like, come on, man, I don't care anymore.
And it's cheaper.
Yeah.
I had Craft Beer Cellar. I posted a post a while ago about this idea, and Craft Beer Cellar actually ran with it and did some calculations and came back and said that basically you'll save $15 to $20 by getting a sixtel.
That's decent.
As opposed to buying the same amount of beer in cans. And you won't overflow your recycling bin. And so that's, I don't know, something you could do once or twice a year if you're going to have a big gathering.
Ryan, we got the beer tap on my kegerator. We're good.
Oh, we're gonna do it.
So good. Everyone is getting kegerators actually right now, and it is super easy to adjust those to a commercial keg.
Yeah, I know.
So definitely check it out if you're having a party and you have a kegerator or a Keyser already. It's super easy.
Yeah. See, my family's always done is we have always gotten those big giant ice vats that we use at the fish market. I mean,
the fish market.
Oh my god,
it happened.
It holds so much ice, and we can fit probably 6 commercial kegs in the ice vat. And we'll tap every single one.
You know where to go this summer, Ryan.
Oh yeah, here we go.
That sounds like a beer festival waiting to happen.
Yeah,
it's bad.
And Ryan, I feel you. I grew up. My friend, one of my best friends from high school, his family owned the South Shore Fish Market in Weymouth.
Yeah. Wait, what's a market? It's a market.
It's a market.
Yeah. South Shore Fish Market in
South Shore
Weymouth.
Fish Market in Weymouth.
I worked there for 5 or 6 years. It was really fun.
So did you lose? You must have lost the accent, Ryan.
Because he gained it.
It started working there again. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
moving on.
Let's wrap up with the thing I'm most excited to talk about today, which is Earth Day initiatives.
Yes. So when is Earth Day for our listeners who don't know?
Excellent. How the hell did we not?
Right. I actually thought about that. Why didn't I mention that earlier?
Okay, so cool. April 22nd. It's on a Thursday this year. Is Earth Day. Earth Week.
Noted.
If you want to go there, is that Monday to Sunday, which is where a lot of these breweries are doing some sort of cool, fun things, kind of in that week.
Cool.
And I would argue that, well, hell, it's Earth Month. And as you alluded to earlier, you can do the hashtag every day is Earth Day, right?
Every day's Earth Day. Hashtag.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I reached out to a bunch of breweries and I sort of challenged them because I knew most of these breweries, I knew someone there and I knew that they kind of cared about the environment to some
Yeah.
extent. They were doing a thing or two or three that made it clear. And I said, hey, can I convince you to do something that you're not already doing, something new, to sort of draw and raise awareness to Earth Day during that week? And to my surprise, 12 of them were like,
Wow.
hell yeah, let's do something.
12. That's awesome.
Which I was excited, yeah.
Yeah.
So let me rattle off real quick. So 2 breweries that I know of are going to brew a beer, and they're going to donate us a portion of the proceeds to earthday.org,
Cool.
which is the group that originated Earth Day back some 50, this will be the 51st Earth Day.
Yeah.
So 50 years ago. And so that's Portico Brewing, which is a contract brand, and Craft Roots in Milford is going to do one as well. So definitely
Awesome.
go and support those 2 breweries and drink their beer because some of it's going to go to help Earth Day. A couple things that they are doing additionally is Craft Roots during that day or weekend is going to, they're going to use this new thing called the Ball Aluminum Cup.
And we're
Which we're
actually
using them
drinking
tonight.
out of tonight. Yeah.
And they're great. There's no like, oh, your beer's gonna taste like aluminum. Well, no, it doesn't. I can taste the flavors of the beer.
This is just way cooler than the
It's
cups I drank out of
way
college
cooler.
in college.
Yes.
So it's
Literally
Yeah.
aluminum.
What is it?
Aluminum.
Aluminum. It's an aluminum. I can't even say
Yeah.
it.
Aluminum
Wow.
can.
Good.
There we go. It's a solo cup, but metal.
Right. So if you have to use, let's say, single-use cups for outdoor service, this is the best possible option because it's made from aluminum, which is 100% highly,
Super recyclable.
infinitely recyclable
Yeah.
in any curbside bin or anything. It's also reusable, so if you wanted to, you
Wash
could
it out.
easily give it a rinse
Yeah.
or a wash and reuse it multiple times. So it's a great, cool thing that she's going to try out for that particular day of Earth Day, and depending on when they run out, maybe through that weekend.
So I don't want to ruin the mood, but how much do those cost? I'm just curious.
No, it's an excellent question. So we mentioned this before the show we were talking.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not quite scalable right now for most venues because they are more expensive. They're not sold like in bulk the way you might buy 1,000 plastic cups or whatever.
Yeah.
You can buy these in 30 packs, I think. But for consumers, you can go get a 30 pack of these instead of the stupid solo cups, and it's not going to kill you. It's like
Right,
I
for
think
your
it's 20
party or
bucks
whatever.
for a
Yeah.
30 pack.
Yeah.
Oh, that ain't bad at
Sure,
all.
it's not.
It's not cheap.
ideal.
I mean, yeah,
If
when
you
it's-
have
but
a beer garden that's running through hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
beers, it's not ideal. But it's
But if you're
not
having a family
outrageous
gathering
either.
or something.
No, it's not
you can easily
outrageous
do
at
that.
all.
Especially if
Yeah.
you rinse and reuse it, which once COVID is kind of behind us, I think that'll be a lot more feasible.
Right.
So anyways, that's a really cool thing they're doing. Another really cool thing that Portico is doing is, as you mentioned earlier, the idea that when you recycle your aluminum cans, you can make the process safer and more efficient by taking off the label. So that
Right.
either the vinyl stick-on labels, which you peel off, or the shrink wraps, which you can, and be careful, use scissors. Because they're tricky to get off. But if you use a scissors and you have a little wherewithal, you can get those
Wedge
off.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
And so they're going to put a special little thing on their label now
Ooh.
that basically says as much to say, hey,
Tear this off.
please remove this label to make the recycling safer and more
Nice.
efficient for the processors.
That's good.
Yeah.
So look for that the next time you see a
Because again,
Portico
not everyone
beer.
knows that.
No,
So
that's
No.
right.
that's a new thing.
Okay, so another really cool one is Redemption Rock Brewing is actually going to, they have this tipping, which is not required or expected because they pay their employees a fair wage,
I love what they do with their tips.
Yep.
which is awesome. Therefore, they donate all their tips to specific nonprofits each month.
And they do that all year round.
They do it year round.
Yeah.
So for April, their nonprofit will be the Greater Worcester Land Trust,
All right.
which promotes the protection, stewardship, and appreciation for outdoor spaces to enhance the quality of life and functioning of natural
Blah.
systems in Worcester and surrounding areas.
Well
So
done.
it's affecting it's affecting the community around Redemption Rock, which is in Worcester.
For sure.
which is
Directly.
a big thing that they do. One
and
of
that's what
their
they
themes.
do.
Yeah.
Like they really try to focus on
Yeah, they've done
Worcester
things with
area.
with pets. They're doing oh yeah.
Right. So they're, hopefully pointing out to people, say, hey, go check out what Worcester has to offer in terms of hiking and things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really cool. I'm excited about that one. Merrimack Ales up in Lowell.
Oh yeah.
So if you've ever been there, they've got a really big brewery.
Yeah.
It's like a huge space, but again, they're not that big of an operation.
Right.
So they've got lots of extra space. So I've convinced Adam, who's the owner there,
Great guy.
to
Yeah, for real.
He is, yeah. So I've convinced him to become a consolidation site that will allow for, this isn't formulated, yes, it's just a thing in my mind, but I think
Okay,
it can happen,
okay.
a Northeast Brewery Recycling Coalition.
Ooh.
Sounds fancy.
The idea there is that we would explore options for these hard to recycle plastic materials that all the breweries use. So grain bags, for example, stretch wrap that they use around their pallets, plastic film left over from those stick-on beer labels.
Yeah.
And obviously PacTex. So while I work on trying to figure out ways to get those things recycled in bulk, because that's really the only
Right.
way
That's
that
the only way you can do it.
Yep.
Yep.
He
Yep.
said he would be a consolidation point where
That's
he
awesome.
would have, these 4 big bins or
Yeah.
whatever, and
Yeah.
once we get them filled up, then we can probably recycle them.
That's super cool.
So
Stay tuned.
yeah.
kind of
Stay
exciting.
tuned.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, another one, if you are interested in going down the Cape, Provincetown Brewing.
I love them. I went there the first time this past year.
Yeah, they're cool.
Great beer, great location.
Just a hell of a
Highly
drive.
recommend. Hell of a drive, but worth it.
Yeah.
And it's actually not as bad as it sounds.
Fast ferry out of Boston, 90 minutes.
Yes,
Boom.
that's the key.
Exactly.
It's great. It's a really
A lot of people
fun
don't
ride.
know about that either.
It's
We're
yeah.
exposing it.
It's a great day trip. It's
Yeah.
it's
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
So they are partnering with the Provincetown Conservation Trust to kick off a speaker series that will focus on local environmental and conservation issues in their seaside community.
Oh, very cool.
And they're planning on doing some sort of a beach cleanup event, but they haven't.
Nice.
Announced it.
Yeah, they haven't announced the specific details.
Yeah.
They're hoping to do it on Earth Day, but
Yeah.
they're still working on that. But that'll be cool.
That's awesome, though.
Seventh Wave Brewing.
Again.
This one is pretty fun. And I'm not going to lie. This is maybe my favorite.
Ooh, okay.
So they have some really cool plans, including they're going to debut new bike racks as part of their certification process to try and become a bike-friendly business
okay.
Yeah.
through this group called the League of American Bicyclers.
Cool.
So that'll be cool. They're going to partner also with a local plant nursery called Lovell's, which is very well known if you're from the Medfield area. They're going to have an herb sale that day that's going to include a bag of spent grains and coffee grounds mixed with peat moss.
Okay. Nice.
So when you
Some like
get
mulch,
your-
kind of.
Yeah, so it's like you put it in with your potting mix when you plant your whatever you might buy there. So
Nice.
Lovell's will be there selling
Yeah.
plants.
That's
And they're
awesome.
like, hey, here's some really cool nutritious stuff that instead of
Your plant will love.
Full of nitrogen. It's going to be good for you. Your
Right.
plants. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last one is that they're going to do an outdoor yoga class on the lawn behind the brewery with burning wheel yoga. And no promises, but I'm working on getting Brew Bro Bob to join me for that one.
Yes.
Oh my God. Where is that?
Please. Oh my
At
God.
Seventh Wave?
Yes.
If Bob does it with you, I will do it in the tightest shirt that I have.
Yes.
I love it. All right. Saturday, April 24th is the
Done.
day for that one.
I could probably get my
Everyone
girlfriend to
mark
do
your
it. We
cal-
should do it.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Everyone mark your
Are you
calendars.
going to do it?
Oh, I'm definitely doing it. I already bought my tickets.
Okay.
Done. I will do it.
I told Bob about it. He was like,
It's
Can
good
we
for
start?
you, Bob.
Can we start an Instagram like
yes, we
campaign
should.
like hashtag get Bob to do yoga?
I love it.
We're starting
Bob
here.
does yoga.
Hashtag Bob does yoga.
All right, so that's we'll work on that one for sure.
He's
Okay.
gonna listen to this and
We'll
hate
talk.
us. Love you, Bob.
Cool. Okay, last but certainly not least, Untold Brewing in Situate. They're working on some really cool recycling initiatives. They don't have as much space as Merrimack Ales does, so they haven't committed yet to doing a sort of a South Shore Brewery
Yeah.
coalition.
They're so intertwined. Why not?
But they're really, so they're doing some great stuff with PacTex. They're working hard to help me figure out this
Definitely.
label sticker stuff
Yep.
and some other things. And so very least, they'll be recycling as many materials as they can.
Nice.
And if possible, they will work with, they're really tight with several South Shore breweries. For example, they're really close with Vitamin C, with Widowmaker, with the one in Plymouth.
There's so many down there.
Stillwater.
Second Wind,
Second Wind. Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, they, if maybe those 4 breweries do a cool sort of recycling coalition down on the South Shore, which would be great. And the other thing they're doing, which is pretty awesome, is in conjunction with the release of this hazy double IPA collaboration beer that they did last year, and they're doing again this year with Vitamin C Brewing. It's called See the Change.
Ooh.
They plan to do a beach cleanup at Nantasket Beach,
That's awesome.
which was where I grew up.
Oh, cool.
In the South Shore area. I used to go to Nantasket all the time. So that's going to be on Sunday the 25th, and rumor has it that the only draft account on the South Shore that will have the beer is the Red Parrot, which is this restaurant right there on Nantasket Ave.
Yeah.
And they'll be pouring it that day.
Wonderful.
Okay. Well, you know where you're going.
And that's just to name a few of the breweries that you are aware of at this point in time. This doesn't mean that more breweries won't be doing some more stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Led me into my last comment, and then I'll shut up. So other breweries that I'm personally working with that have initiatives but haven't figured out all the specifics yet are Anawan Brewing is planning to do something. The brewery at 4 Star Farms in Northfield is planning to do something.
Liz.
Riverwalk is planning to do something. And
I would have been surprised if they didn't do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
real quick tidbit on Riverwalk. One of the coolest things that they're working on is they're probably going to get a grain silo at some point in the not too distant future, which means they won't get any more of those won't have to get as many of those ridiculous
Pallets.
grain
and
bags.
things.
Yeah.
Which are all made from this polypropylene plastic,
That
which
doesn't
is impossible to recycle unless you have a special place to do it. So
Yeah.
that'll be really cool, really meaningful.
Definitely.
Harper Lane Brewing in Middleborough is thinking about something, maybe the ball aluminum cup or something else. And then Rockport Brewing, I'm working on maybe a North Shore Beach cleanup type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that would be cool.
Let us
With
know.
them.
Definitely.
And then I'm sure, Matt, that there are hopefully a few dozen other breweries, if not more, that are at least going to think about trying to do something. Although,
check your local brewery for some events, I guess.
yeah, and again, I just I don't know, I can't help myself, but be careful that if you see a social media post, just them claiming something that they already do, and it's one of those 3 low-hanging fruits. Whatever.
And remind our listeners, what are those
just
3?
Don't be as impressed with it as maybe some other stuff that people are doing that's more meaningful.
Right.
So if they talk about their spent grants going to a local farm,
We know.
everybody's doing that.
Yeah.
You kind of have to do that.
Yeah.
You're crazy if you don't do that. You're going to pay more money if you don't, because
Right.
again, it's required by law.
Yeah.
And the other couple were, what else did we talk about? I can't even remember.
Single-use cups. Or, I mean, the plastic cups that were...
Biodegradable.
Oh, yeah, the biodegradable
Right.
cups.
Yeah.
If they say, we use biodegradable cups, well, then the next question, if you want to really be sort of, inquisitive, is like, well, what are you doing with those supposedly biodegradable cups? Are you actually collecting them separately and getting them composted at a facility?
Yeah.
If not, again, it's
Yeah. I guess my takeaways from this are support local.
Yep.
Because you're going to impact the least amount of carbon footprint. If you're not driving
save
around.
money. You're not driving as far. You're not. Yeah.
Yep. Drink on site.
Right.
I know that COVID is still a thing. I'm not encouraging people to drink frivolously on site. Be smart, wear a mask,
But
follow
also,
the rules. And a lot of breweries are doing a great job
Yes.
of making you feel safe.
And breweries will make more money off that as well. So you're helping that brewery more than you are buying their cans at some liquor store.
excellent point. By far, the greatest profit margin for a brewery is selling a beer on draft.
Exactly.
They don't have to pay for any of the materials or the labor.
Right.
And some of these breweries, the smaller ones, they have to pay like a mobile canner to come out. That's
Oh, of
even more
course.
expensive
Which is
than if
more
you have your own.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're saving them all that cost. And you're saving, if you buy a beer at a store, 30% of that beer that
Has
you
to go to
paid
the
for,
store.
that actually went to the distributor.
Distributor.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
And then
Yes.
the store probably got 10%
Right,
of it. And
right.
so like half the profit is gone.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
buying it straight from the brewery, you can't beat that from in any way, including
Yes.
supporting the local economy in your brewery.
Yeah. Also, if you're going away to try a brewery, don't just make one brewery your destination. Try to hit multiple. So
In that area.
So
Yeah.
it's not just one trip and then you go back another week for another trip. Make the most out of that trip,
Sure.
and then be an informed consumer.
Yeah.
Read between the lines. If someone's saying something, really understand what that means. We've kind of laid out in this episode what sustainability means. I certainly
I have a better understanding
of it. I am a home gardener. I like to think that I'm sustainable, and what I learned in this episode, I barely scratched the surface.
It's more about the future.
It's about the future.
Yeah, nothing here now.
And even though you feel like you can't make an effect, do as much as you can that you can do, right?
Every little thing helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, the more consumers do, the more breweries have to pay attention to what consumers want. So
Right.
We have the biggest impact sometimes. No, but
It's true. It's true, though.
Rob, we always, when you're on we learn so much every time you're on the podcast. So we appreciate you coming down. But we want our listeners to learn even more. We appreciate everyone who listens here, but we want people to follow you and, your identities, one half of the Mass Brew Bros and Eco-Friendly Beer Drinker. Where can we find you guys on social media? I know you have websites.
Yeah, thank you so much. That'd be great. So Mass Brew Bros, probably most people at this point might know about it.
Yep.
It's massbrewbros.com website, and it's Mass Brew Bros on social media. And for my other venture is Eco-Friendly Beer, ECO Friendly Beer, and that's a website, as well as social media, so Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yeah. Thank you for all you're doing. I mean...
Yeah. No, we appreciate it. We, like Matt was saying, we just learned so much from these times with you, and I feel like we can take that information away and hopefully spread it around in the next couple months.
And a lot of times, I look at the Mass Brew Bros and I'm like, how do you have time to do all of this stuff? You have all this time. You're an educator. I mean, you work as an educator, and you're spending the time educating the public, not just the younger generation. So I applaud to you for doing that. That's awesome, spending your time informing the public to do that, because we certainly learn stuff, and I think our listeners are going to learn a lot. And we hope to see you at some of the events. You can watch me and Erica and Rob and hopefully Bob. Ryan, you coming to do yoga?
No,
we're gonna work on Ryan. We're gonna work on Ryan.
Yeah, so go check out some of your breweries during Earth Week, and again, check my website out or check out the social media page to see what are the breweries that I'm working with and what are the cool things they're doing during that week. That'd be great.
Definitely, and check us out because we'll probably share.
We're gonna share it. It's gonna be in the Double Dublo. You know about that.
You know about the Doobly Doo.
Yeah. So we're gonna screw open the last beer.
Definitely.
We're gonna talk about stuff. We're gonna enjoy the weather.
And, Until next time.
Stay sustainable.
Exactly.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning into this week's episode with Rob from Eco-Friendly Beer Drinker and the Mass Brew Bros. We definitely encourage all our followers and listeners to go out and follow those pages. And in addition, help us out and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon.
Yeah.
We can be found at patreon.com/Brew Roots Podcast. We have a couple patrons who help us out every month, and we'd love to add a few of them because we're sending out some pretty cool stuff.
We got some new things in the works as well, so stay tuned for maybe some new levels, new ways to support us.
Yeah, and until next week, we have an awesome episode that we're running by the seat of our pants right now.
Because Ryan's not here!
Ryan's not here, so we have no clue what we're doing next week.
No idea.
Just kidding, we actually know, we just don't want to tell you. So we're going to go drink some beer.
Stay tuned.
Cheers.
Cheers.